Now, talking about sleep, that's a huge one. And of course, everyone's kind of, looking at that more and more. Circadian rhythms, the importance of sleep, not just for rest, but also for immunity, for everything. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you're looking at in the biohacks you engage in when we're talking about sleep quality?
Yeah, there are a couple things that I'm really passionate about using. The first one is you're building into your morning routine, getting some light into your eyes, because your best night of sleep ever starts with what happens in the first thing in the morning. So it's like an Andrew Huberman thing as well. He talks about this a lot, which is great to have the science behind it. But getting outside 10 minutes or so in the morning sun before 9 a.m., even if you're in a weird place in the planet, just trying to get the refracted light into your eyeballs, because that's what sets your circadian rhythm for the entire day. So that for me is a big piece of that. How do I get outside in my little backyard here and get some sunlight before 9 a.m.? And then when I'm going to bed throughout the day, different things are going on. I'll use if I have crappy weather, I'll use some red light panels, devices. I have a flex beam, supplementation I'm sort of big on. But when I get to nighttime, I'm always taking magnesium, which I think is a simple tool we all should be taking daily. I typically take it at night. I use a weighted blanket because for me that I feel more swaddled and it sort of helps out. I'm also fortunate enough to have an Ooler. I mean, I'm a biohacker, so I'm like, You got the Ooler under the sheet. I have the weighted blanket. I have like a pillow, sleep crown. I have all the different fun things to try. But one of the best things I do at night that helps me settle in, there's two things. And that is I get cozy. I do I have red lights in my house and blue blocking glasses. But when I get into bed, I do some downregulated breath work, typically 5 minutes or less. I'm almost asleep with it. And I do that breath work with I have a device that's like a portable device. You don't have to have it plugged in, called a flex beam. And it is red light therapy sort of targeted. And I will put it over my chest or on my belly. And I will do breath work with it. So 5-10 minutes, the cycle of flex beam, it runs 10 minutes. It shuts off automatically if I've fallen asleep. And it's just like, it's a slightly warm and it's giving sort of that red light benefit to my body, my chest, my breathing, my biomechanics. And it's a little tactile feedback so that you can kind of downregulate really well. And so the breath and the flex beam are a really big part of my nighttime routine. And there's 100 other things we could talk about, but just, I think getting rest at the same time, getting the light in the morning, and then having a bedtime thing where you begin to unwind are really important.
I think that's it. So much of society right now puts on the TV, right? Keeps the lights on, does the opposite of what anyone would tell you before they try and go to sleep. And then they usually pop a pill or something. And that's, and then in the morning they're groggy. So they take in a lot of caffeine. And it's such a terrible system, right? That cycle is awful for health. And yet we become so accustomed to it. That's the norm, and we're the weirdos of the world.
Totally. I was just gonna say, like the only weird thing that happens is like when the sun goes down and I turn on all the red lights in my house, I'm always wondering what my neighbors think. Like my house just goes red, and there must be like, what is going on over there in that house? I mean, I'm in Austin, so maybe there's some neighbors that get it, but I try to match the bulbs with what's happening with the sun and get the white light on. I'm not a TV watcher much.
Yeah, it's really funny because I was talking to Dr. James DiNicolantonio yesterday. And he said the same thing. We're the only neighborhood that, like, when the sun goes down, the lights are off and people are like knocking to see if we're okay, if something happened at night. Most people don't get it, but you're right. If I were there, I'd be like, "Oh, Kristin's getting ready to go sleep." But
yeah, totally. And
the rest of the world,
I'm always like, people are going to be like, "Is this like a red light district thing?"
And homage to Amsterdam, right?
Right. So wild. So wild. Yeah.